Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Granja. This is a 1 to 4 player Euro strategy board game that takes 90 to 120 minutes to play. Now this is the Deluxe Master Set version of the game, which has recently fulfilled on Kickstarter. I've not played the original Granja, so I cannot compare the two, but I do not believe there are any rules differences. So this version comes with a ton of additional modules, but in this review we'll only be talking about the base game. Now before I get into my review of Granja, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer, and if you use the link in my show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. Okay, so I've just finished a 3-player game of Granja here. Now this is a relatively involved game, but it's not that complex in spite of that. Now the main board here consists of this main market area here, which is an area control mechanism where you can put presents down and try to kick other people off, and this can be a way to generate points for yourself. If you're familiar with a game called Luna, this is basically a carbon copy of the mechanism used in that. Now on the board you also have these different markets where you can try and deliver these different goods. And if you deliver those goods, then you'll get these bonus tokens which can give you ongoing and instant benefits. You also have the siesta track to the right hand side of the board here, which essentially breaks initiative and will give you priority in taking your actions, as well as generating you some additional points if you push right to the top. To the left hand side of the board here, you have these different areas which will be different actions based on dice that you draft. So each round you'll be rolling a number of dice equal to double the amount of players plus 1. So you do 2 dice drafts, as you can see here we've done like this, and that will be a bunch of different actions you can take, such as getting money, getting resources, playing or drawing cards, doing extra deliveries, and all this will become relevant very soon. You have this area here where you can buy roof tiles. So each round there'll be a number of roofs available to you. 1 per player, and you have 1 opportunity per round to get one. So this kind of acts like a round counter, I suppose. And more importantly, you have your own player setup, which will look a bit like this. So this tracks all your resources. So basically you have these cylinders in your color, and depending on where they are on your player board, that will determine what they are. So you can see here, this particular yellow cylinder is a piece of wheat because it's on my wheat field. This one's an olive. And you can see all these arrows show the different lines in which you can upgrade them. So you can upgrade olives and wheat by spending 2 money to make it into food. And the same goes to here, where you can buy these goods straight up. You can convert grapes into wine. You can get pigs, and you can turn the pigs into cured meat, etc. And this also stores your roofs, which can generate you more and more points. And as you can see on your board, you have a number of these empty slots. So you have 3 slots on the bottom, you have 3 slots at the top, as well as having spaces where you can put cards to the left or right of your board. And this is one of the main mechanisms of the game, because you are always going to be managing a hand of cards and selecting how to utilize them, whether you want to use them as a helper to give you ongoing player powers, as fills to start generating you more resources passively, or as a farm extension to make you maybe breed more pigs or have more storage space for pigs, as well as increasing income, increasing your hand size, and increasing your ability to do extra deliveries. Again, all this will become clear a bit later on. And you also have a huge stack of these cards, which of course are going to be used to fill up your hands. And you've got some additional bits as well, such as the money. In this example, I've just used these iron clays, but the game does come with money, as well as these tokens to show if you've used your powers or not, and a bunch of these victory point tokens. So the game is going to play out over 6 rounds, and each of those rounds is going to follow the following process, where the first thing each player will do in turn order is to play one of their cards in their hand to one of those respective areas that I mentioned earlier. Like you can see here earlier, this player played this trader card in their helper area of their board, which means that you can spend a trade commodity to receive any 3 harvest goods or 7 silver, which is an improved version of this power here. So there's a ton of these cards. I won't even be able to scratch the surface, and I'll be here all day if I was to discuss them all. But rest assured, there is a ton of variability there and tons of things that these cards can do. By paying them to the right hand side of here, you're going to increase your hand size, increase your ability to do more orders, increase your ability to generate more money, increase your storage area for pigs. This one here will increase your field size in order to harvest or grow more resources. Now, once you've played those cards, you're going to replenish to your hand size, bearing in mind you start with 3 cards, but again, with more of these cards played, you can increase your hand size. Like this player has done it up to 6 cards. So they've got a lot more flexibility. After that, you are going to generate your income. Now, income is going to relate to this side of your board, where if you've managed to unlock these bonus tokens, then you can start getting some other income, such as these extra commodities, more money, more resources, etc. Now, also, you will start to increase your ability to produce resources during the income phase by filling up any empty spots on your fields here. So you can see here that this player has still got an olive on this particular spot, but they will refill these here like so, where their fields are reproducing these goods. So these are a nice way to constantly get more resources. Also, if you have 2 pigs in this area here, you will breed another pig, much like an Uwe Rosenberg game. After that, in player order, each player will be able to buy one of these roof tiles. Each round they're going to go up in cost, so in the 6th round they're going to cost 6, and they'll come with a bonus. Like in this example, you can get an olive, you can get a free upgrade, or you can reuse a previously acquired roof tile. And you can see the more you acquire of these, you'll get more victory points. However, you only have 5 chances to get these roofs, and there's only 6 rounds in the game, so you either use it or you lose it. After that, you're going to go into the dice drafting phase, where again, you're going to roll all these dice. They're going to be assigned to a different area on the board, like so. Of course, there are going to be more here. And then in turn order, you're going to take your turns drafting those dice and taking the corresponding bonuses, such as again, getting pigs, getting resources or being able to draw or play cards, getting 2 different resources, getting money, getting upgrades or going up the siesta track, like so, or getting another delivery, or getting 2 money. Now, the dice that's remaining that nobody's drafted, all players are going to get that corresponding bonus. Once the dice drafting has been completed, you're going to go into the order fulfillment phase, where each player is going to choose one of these donkey tiles that they will use. Now, you can see here there's a breakdown of donkeys or the siesta hats, and that is going to show how many deliveries and how many times you're going to climb up that siesta track. So let's just say, as a balanced approach, I chose this one here. I'll place it up here like this. I'll go 2 up the siesta track, so like I have done here, and then I'll get 2 orders essentially. Now, these orders are going to basically mean that you can shift resources from your farm to the different order fulfillment areas, such as the barrows that you've put onto the top half of your board, or to the main board itself. Now, if you do it to these barrows, then you are going to, well, as I said, you're going to spend those donkeys, you're going to shift them up like this. So let's just say I spent one of my orders to fulfill that wine like this. This is now a complete order. As a reward for this, I am going to get a commodity, which is this area in the center here. And these at any time can be converted into these very nice rewards, such as getting money, getting resources, again, drawing or playing cards, getting a pig, or getting free upgrades. Now, you can also see that all of these barrows come with a number of victory points. So this is going to give me 3 victory points, as well as allowing me to place one of my control markers on a matching area in the market here. So this was a 3-point barrow contract, therefore I put it on a 3. Let's just say I chose this one, like so. Now, anybody surrounding me with a lower number would be kicked off. So in this example, there'll be nobody, but let's just say that previously the green player was here. Then I placed my 3 like so. I'm going to remove anybody with a lower number and get a point for doing that. So in this example, I'd remove that green and get an additional victory point. The orders on the board come with different advantages. Now, during setup, you will get some additional victory points if you are the first to complete any of these market stalls. And you'll also have 3 of these stalls blocked off. So as soon as you complete one, the next one will be unlocked, available for the other players to use. So your options are a bit limited at the start of the game. But you can see here, there's one here that you need to trade in money. And if you complete that, you're going to get this bonus trade token like this, which will instantly give you 3 coins, and during the income phase, you'll get 3 more coins. So a nice way to generate yourself more money there. You've got this one here, which basically gives you additional orders and additional movement up the siesta track each time you go up. You've got this one here, which gives you instant victory points, as well as giving you more victory points each time you gain one of these trade tokens. This one here gives you passive income of those commodities, which is especially strong, but very expensive because you have to give up commodities to do it. This one here gives you passive income in terms of resources. And this one here basically means that you get more points for completing your barrow contracts. So after you determine new player order and you do your free orders, as in the orders on your donkey tile here, each player in turn order will have the option to spend a coin to do an additional order. And you can do that as many times equal to the donkey symbols you have here. So you can see that I have the potential to do 2 more paid order fulfillments. And the final phase in the game here is where you're going to start generating some points equal to your presence on the center of the board here. So you can see here that green would get 4 points, blue would get 2 points, and yellow would also get 2 points. You'll also get points equal to your place on the siesta track. You'll reset the new turn order, and then you'll basically reveal the next bunch of roof tiles for the following round. And after 6 rounds of that, you're going to calculate all your points. You're going to convert any resources left into money, getting 1 point for every 5 coins you have. And the player with the most points at the end of the game will be the winner. Okay, so let's share some thoughts on La Granja. Now, apologies if the run through there was a little bit quick and a bit rushed, but I wanted to spend more time talking about the game rather than talking about how to play the game. Now, for me, this game is mostly focused, and at least for me, the shining part of the game is the card play and that multi-use card system. Now, I tend to like this mechanism in board games, and this is one of the strongest examples that uses this multi-use card system that I've ever seen. Now, you really are in a dilemma on how to use these because everything is so inviting. You know, doing the orders is great because it's going to get you victory points, as well as giving you more presence in the center of the board, maybe kicking other people off. It's also going to give you those very valuable commodities, and I cannot stress enough how important those commodities are because they can be an absolute lifesaver due to their flexibility. Additionally, growing the resources without any effort or cost is great if you play them as the fields. Getting the additional income and additional orders and additional hand size by playing them as those field extensions is great. And of course, you have the amazing abilities of the cards themselves. So you really are in a huge dilemma on how to use these cards. And you know, you only actually get 1 guaranteed card play per turn at the start of the round. And you know, maybe you will get some more card plays if you manage to draft the number 2 die here and play some additional cards, or of course you can cash in these commodities to get some more card plays done as well. But you know, those don't always happen. You know, in the game we just played here, there were very few opportunities to get these cards played. Therefore, you want to, you know, maximize every single placement. And it's nice to, and this has definitely played out in my games, that each way you play these cards can be hugely advantageous. You know, I'm really focused on getting more fields here. You can see that my opponent's really focused on utilizing their helpers and getting a lot of contracts done here, and so on. So yeah, there's definitely an advantage to do everything, and one is definitely not stronger than the other. I really like how you have the freedom to manipulate your farm board whenever you like. You do not have to do this at a certain time in the game or on your own turn. You can kind of focus on, you know, upgrading, shifting goods around, you know, selling them, buying them, etc. on other players' turns. So you've got some nice engagement there and that freedom to do what you want without that stuffiness or rigidness of turn structure. I also enjoy this conflicting mechanism of when to get these public market fulfillments completed, because the earlier you do them, it means that you're going to get to exploit these tokens for longer by getting more income, etc. But at the same time, if you do them earlier, you get fewer points for doing so, because I'm not sure if I mentioned, you get points equal to the round that those contracts were completed in. So if you get a bunch of them done in the 6th round, that's a ton of points there. But it did mean that you went the whole game without generating extra money, without getting extra orders fulfilled, without getting extra points by getting more tokens, etc. So I tend to like it when games use this, and this game certainly did that well. You know, getting all these other things is absolutely fantastic, but again, that does come with the punishment of not getting as many points if you do it on the earlier side of the game. I also like the pressure you're under to use these donkey tokens to their maximum, because, if you only have 1 or 2 resources on your board, of course you want to use the lower donkey tokens and push forward in initiative order to not only get those more points, but to get priority in dice drafting, etc. But it does mean that once you spend one of these donkey tokens, you do not get it back and they don't refresh until the 4th round. So, you need to pace yourself correctly. And if you end up messing that up, you need to give yourself that kind of contingency by giving yourself more card plays with these paid donkey orders, because 1 really is not enough. And if you start building an engine to deliver more of those, you've got so much more flexibility. Yes, it means you are going to depend more on money, but you can at least get yourself out of that corner. Whereas if you do not have that extra order space, then you are pretty much screwed. Something that became apparent to me is the importance of turn order, not only for things such as drafting dice before the other players do, but mainly when it comes to the central area control mechanism here. Because yes, if you're first and you say fulfilled a barrow contract and you place your thing down and get the spot that you want before someone else jumps in there, it does mean that if you are later in turn order and you yourself manage to get one of those contracts done, you can actually end up going to a higher placed region and kicking off the ones that I've just placed down. So it does come with its advantages and disadvantages, and it's something that you might even want to sit back and be last in player order in order to kick other people off the different spots here. So it's nice that it has that multifaceted layers of the player order, and it's not always purely advantageous to go first. Now, when I first learnt the rules of this game, I was a little bit concerned that it was going to be a little bit regimented and a little bit choppy in terms of its turn structure, which is something I tend to avoid in my games. I tend to like them to be a bit more free-flowing and have a simpler turn structure. But in practice, I think that it does quickly become digestible, and you can quickly wrap your head around how the game flows. When you break it down, it's pretty much play a card and take all your income, buy a roof if you want to, do the dice drafting, do your orders, and then get your points. That's pretty much how the game works, whereas at first, it might not appear to be that simple. Now, I wouldn't say that player interaction is a main focus of this game, but there is enough in it to at least to be relevant. As I mentioned, you have got that passive Euro-style interaction when it comes to prioritization of dice drafting, in terms of being the first to complete the contracts, and more importantly, that area control mechanism is where most of the interaction comes into play. But I'm not going to sit here and say this is a really interactive game, because it's not, but it certainly has got enough here and probably a level what you'd expect from your standard Euro game. Now, despite being a slightly longer game, you are looking at 90 to 120 minutes to play this one. I did find myself fully engaged. You are always trying to play your cards to the maximum efficiency, deciding what you want to do next. I like how that you cannot physically get everything done. If you're going to do one thing, you're probably going to neglect another, and those are the games that tend to keep me coming back. You can't really get all of the trade tokens. At least you can't do that as well as competing in the market here. You can't really focus on getting all of the roofs done if you're going to do those other things, because money's going to be too tight, etc. So you always do have to approach the game differently, and I suppose react to the cards that you've got and try to exploit these powers as much as you can, which might lead you down a certain pathway. The replayability for the base game alone is decent, and a big part of that is because of the huge deck of cards, and you're going to see different cards each game, of course, going to give you different powers. But that is also going to determine on the order in which these different public markets are going to become available, because let's just say that the pig stalls are available first in one game. That means you're going to kind of focus on this first and therefore get these trade tokens in a different order than you would in a different game. So yeah, you've got some different things to react to, and you're always going to be adjusting on the fly and tactically reacting in that way. So you can't always approach the game in the same way. But of course, a lot of the longevity in this particular version of the game is going to come from those additional modules. Now, I've not tried any of the modules yet, so I can't testify to their quality, but there are I think there's about a dozen of them in the box. So you've got tons of things to inject into the game should you wish to use them, just to spice up a thing or two. They come with different complexities. Some of them are pretty game-changing, some of them are very minor changes. So all little things you want to add into the game, just to add a little bit of life, you've got that option to do so. I think this is a game that scales very well. Now, depending on the player count, you have got two sides of the board to play with, just to keep things tighter. Of course, you're going to have more or fewer dice available to you to draft, depending on the player count. So generally, the game doesn't change much depending on who you play this with or the amount of players you play it with. Yes, the central part of the board might be a bit more dynamic with more players and maybe a bit more interesting, but there's so much other things going on here that that's not going to be game-breaking, and it's not going to decrease your enjoyment if you play this with, say, two players, because most of the game is about an optimization puzzle and an efficiency puzzle and how to manage your resources. There's also a solo mode with the game, which I have not tried, but because, as I said, it is an efficiency puzzle, I can see this game lending itself well to a solo mode for those reasons. And let's briefly touch on the components here. You know, this is the Deluxe Master Set version of the game, and it is very nicely put together. You can see the artwork is gorgeous to look at. You know, the box looks great. Quite a big chunky box there, so bear that in mind. I suppose the nicest touch is the player boards, because they are triple layered and all the cards slot in nicely. You have got spots here where, you know, these sit in nicely as well, so they have little divots on the board. The cards are nicely laid out. They're good high quality finishes. But generally speaking, it's all just your standard stuff, you know, cardboard tokens. You've got a few little deluxe upgrades, such as these wooden roofs, the wooden donkey tiles, but it's pretty simple, just little wooden square tokens and tiles, etc. So I like the fact that it's not gone overboard in terms of the deluxification, but it certainly is a nice polished product. Okay, so let's share some final thoughts on Granja, and without question, this is a high quality medium weight euro. Actually pretty simple to understand and get flowing once you wrap your head around that slightly choppy turn structure, but it does look worse than it actually is in practice. But for me, these are the games I enjoy because there are decisions that come thick and fast. And the game does pretty much get out of your way in terms of rules minutiae, fiddliness, complexities, that kind of thing. You really are left to try to solve this puzzle of managing your hand of cards, how to play them best on your board, shifting resources around, competing for majorities in the middle here, kicking other players off. When is the time to fulfill these public orders to get these bonuses in relation to the points you're going to generate? Just things coming from all angles here, lots of different approaches you can use to tackle this game, and I just enjoyed it from start to finish, if I'm honest. So the Granja is a bit of a strange one, because although it's now received this deluxification treatment, it was never a game that was really in the main conversation to be one of the great Euros out there. But I think it should be in that conversation because it is so well done, a really polished and well-refined game, and I'm looking forward to diving in to all that additional expansion content to see if I can kind of tailor-make a perfect version of the Granja for me. Not disparaging the core version of the game alone, because this is great, but with a few extra bits of spiciness, this could be one of the best kind of contract fulfillment games out there, and definitely one of the best multi-use card games that I've played. So without question, this is going to get a chairman's commendation. Highly recommend picking up a copy. If you're happy with the look of this alone, then you might be able to pick up a copy of the original version at a lower price. But of course, if you want this nice, shiny version of the game, then give this one a look. So that is Granja by Board and Dice.